Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back with another one. It is the Authority Project. I am Brian S. Arnold here, and I have my new good friend here, Jeremy Nicolaides here, and he says he's going to help us today learn how to create and live free. Is that right, Jeremy?
That is absolutely right. It's a must. It's happening today.
All right. Well, we shall see. We shall see on
We
this
shall.
on this episode of the Authority Project.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, feast your eyes and tune your ears. It's that time again. We are live with another episode of The Authority Project. It's the video podcast streamed on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Periscope, where we talk to digital marketers, business coaches, and creators of all kinds on how they've built authority in their field and how you can mimic their success. Developing authority, building your audience, and attracting better clients to your own business. Now, without further ado, let's bring to the virtual stage your host, Brian S. Arnold.
All right, we're back with another one, folks. It is Brian S. Arnold here, and it is the Authority Project. You are the project where you want to slap authority to your name so you can sell more of what you're great at. And I am honored to have Jeremy here. How are you doing today, first of all?
I am doing fantastic. It's Fabulous Friday.
Awesome.
Good,
Well,
good.
yes, it's a great Friday. It's been a long week. It's been a long week, but it's still going. Matter of fact,
Sure is.
it's still going for sure. So let's dive in first of all with who you are personally and then professionally.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, I'm Jeremy Nicolaides. I have a creative background, right? And so I've spent the bulk of my career building up and climbing the creative ladder, so to speak. And I reached the top and I found the ceiling and I dove off. And so that's what I'm looking to get into.
Awesome stuff. Awesome. And who are you personally? Who is Jeremy the man?
Jeremy the man is a man he's a family man, right?
Okay.
I love my family and I love my friends, and I just do everything for my kids and my wife and my family, and that's really where it's at for me. We live by the beach. I love the beach. I love being outside.
Nice.
And I like trying to make life easy and fun.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So tell us the current project you're working on at the moment.
Right now, so I've always got a few balls that I'm juggling in the air, right? I'm still working in the film business. I got things going on in the film business that I do. But right now, like my driving force really is create and live free. It's this this movement and this idea that I'm trying to get out to people so that they can see that they don't have to be burning themselves out. They don't have to, like I talked about climbing a ladder. The ladder's a facade, right? Like we climb these invisible ladders and we shackle ourselves to jobs and even our businesses. And I think at the end of the day, we find ourselves in a position where we're not actually living. So many of us are living for tomorrow or later, and we're not enjoying the now, right?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So last question here before we dive in for real. What is your daily routine?
Oh, okay. That's a really good question for me because it's something I definitely focus on. I get up, and this is adjusted and tweaked over the years, but
Oh yeah.
I get up about 6 a.m. While everybody's still sleeping and the house is quiet and before like the kids are going nuts. And I get some meditation time in, and then depending on if the kids have woken up or not, I'll get some journaling time in. I like to kind of put I like to have like a manifestation journal, right? Or anything I'm kind of working through, I kind of write about it, or just like, project great thoughts into the future. And then, I spend time with my family and get our oldest son off to school. And then I go across, I point back here because through that wall on the other side of the building, there's a beach. And so I go out there, barefoot. I like to get down into the wet sand and either walk or run and, listen to either, music or coaching or something, and just be one and just get myself to exercise and take care of myself. Come back, I have a good breakfast, I shower, and then I hit it hard, and then I work, and I take a break for lunch and usually hang out with the family again. Like I love that, like COVID, just was like, no, you can't, you're gonna spend time with your family.
Right.
To me, it's been amazing, right? And then, just get some business done, and then I get little visits by the kids, and then it's family time, and then the wife and I get some chill time and sleep, and get a good night's sleep. Right, that's an
Oh
important
yeah,
thing.
definitely. I'm learning more about the sleep stuff now. It's been an ongoing battle for me with sleep. Let me tell you, I'll just say that. But let's enough about me about sleep. That's a whole nother episode all in itself.
That's
But
part two.
right, exactly. So let's dive into this topic. I'm gonna give you the full title of what he gave me earlier. So it goes like this: Stop giving up today for tomorrow, and learn how to create and live free. What do you mean by that, first of all?
So, like I was saying, so much, I found myself in a place where I was burning myself out, right? I wasn't sleeping, right? I wasn't taking care of myself. And I was giving up today for tomorrow. I was giving up now for later. I was giving up, 9 to 5, not 9 to 5. That's a joke right there, right? It's not a comedy show, but you know what I mean? I'm like giving up my day to have like 2 hours at night, or Monday to Friday to have the weekend, and I'm just giving up for this idea of tomorrow, right? Like, oh, if I just do this, if I just don't worry about my health, don't worry about my sleep, don't worry about anything, and then like tomorrow I'll have this, right? But like happiness and fun and freedom that doesn't exist tomorrow, and it doesn't exist yesterday. It's only like right now, right? And if we don't set ourselves up to be in a position to enjoy the now and do the things we love, what are we gonna, at the end of the day, what have we got, right? We're not actually living.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I want you to go right now, dive into a blueprint of what that looks like. How do we create this thing so that we can live free? How does that work?
Well, so for me, because I was, like I said, climbed this ladder, and I got to like global creative director in a place, and working on Hollywood films and doing all this great stuff. And I was missing fulfillment, right? So that was kind of the first thing I was missing. And then I jumped off, and I bought a business, and that was super challenging, and I struggled, and the trial and error and the things I had to go through was super painful. We got to a point where we didn't know how we were going to pay our bills, right? We didn't know, like I ran out of savings. I borrowed money from the bank, filled up the credit cards, borrowed money from the family, and then the first of the month was still coming, right?
Yeah.
And so, I ended up we got out of that, right? I started listening to podcasts, and I joined coaching groups and went to masterminds. I started learning from other people, right? And that's part of this, right? Is being able to know and understand that there are people who have already done what you're trying to do, right? And we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and we don't have to suffer through all that trial and error, right? Because that takes up time, and it takes up money. And it's two things like you probably don't have enough of. At the end of the day, if you just burn it all, what do you got, right? And luckily we can get more money, but we can't get more time, right? And so, I clawed my way back out of that and started a consulting business, started moving into executive producing on in the film side, and putting myself in a place where I wasn't, shackled to the 9 to 5, if you will, that I had more freedom, right? But then I found myself still burning myself out, right? So it's like I was climbed to the top, and then I went to the bottom and back to the top. Like that was just like, that's good for movies and books, and it's what we tell ourselves. But like the real thing is that I was still giving everything up. I was burned out. I was juggling too much, trying to do so much. And so what I found was that I had to figure out a way to create a life to set me free, right? And so that's where, I started getting into it. And it's like, first we have to build that foundation. And me personally, and I know like we're all different and we all need different things, but for me personally, it's going down the road of entrepreneurship, owning a business, right? I think when you work for somebody else, you're never really truly going to be free, because you are locked into whatever they want you to do, right? And if you don't want to do what they want you to do, then you got to go do something else, right?
Right.
So if you have your own business, and if you're into, like, you're an entrepreneur, now you can create, right? You can create something. So, I support creative entrepreneurs and business owners, and I really support creatives because that's the route that I've come up from. But I think entrepreneurs themselves, they're creatives as well, right? Entrepreneurs create something out of nothing, right? Photographers create images with their camera. The painters, like, we all create something, right? So first we need that foundation, right? That foundation of how we're going to take care of ourselves, right? And then the second thing is we need proven frameworks, right? We need to integrate, we need to use what has already been discovered. And I'm not saying that like the frameworks that I share with people are going to work perfectly for you, but you're going to start from after the struggles that I went through, right? Like, why go through all the pain and suffering that I went through when you can start on the other side, right? There's always going to be challenges. We know that other pain and suffering is going to arrive, but let's omit what can be omitted. Let's get rid of what we don't have to suffer through and just start farther down the line, right? Like, how do we get further faster, right? And so I think it's my belief it's through, proven frameworks. What have other people done? And start from there, right? And then, but here's the most important part, and this is where we all get stuck, and this I think is at the core of living free, is we now have to trust ourselves, right? We have to have the confidence to say, I have spent the time. I have actually put in the work to say, okay, here's my plan. We're all good at planning, right? Like everybody's so good at planning, right?
Yeah.
But the majority of us aren't good at actually taking the action, right? And so first, you got to take that action, imperfect action, by the way, don't make it perfect. You got to take that action, but also you have to trust yourself. If you're not trusting yourself, then you're going to burn yourself out. Then you're going to be up all night working. You're going to give up your weekends. You're going to give up today for tomorrow. And now you're not living. So what's the point of doing all of that, right? What's the point of that? Right? And so if we can put our hands up and enjoy the ride and trust ourselves and know that we're already on the path, that we've already done it, now we can start to live free. Now we can say, hey, it's okay. I'm going to take this break. I'm going to go play with my kids at the beach, right? I'm not going to stay up all night. I'm actually going to sleep 8 hours a night, right? Like you're talking, you battle with sleep. Like I started testing my sleep, right? And it's like 7 to 8 hours makes the world of difference. It changes how I feel, right? It changes my relationships. It changes everything. Right. And so, but you do have to go back. You do have to reevaluate. So I just like to do it every 90 days. It's a quarterly thing. I look at my business and I look at my personal life and just make sure I'm on course. And if I need to tweak something, I spend that day, 2 days, like however long that time, and then enjoy the ride, man. Right. Hands up and just, it's a roller coaster.
Right.
Enjoy it.
So I like what you're saying there. So I want to get into the beginning of all this, because when you're starting, you're starting with a whole bunch of hats. All the hats are yours. It's just you, usually just you, right? Yeah. So how do you avoid burnout there and still be balanced and free from there, where you're doing everything?
Yeah, it's a really good point. First, it's going to take longer, right? Like you just got to understand, like the idea, the time frame in your head, and I run through this all the time. To this day, like this week, every single week, I get to Thursday. For me, Thursday's the day where I'm like, oh man, I didn't get through everything I wanted to get to. I got Friday. Oh boy, right? Like for me, that's when it starts to build up, and I have this moment. And then by this time, for me, I'm on the West Coast, right? By the time I hit 11, 12 o'clock on Friday, I'm like, okay, it's written. Like there's no way I can do it, so I'm not going to stress out about it. Now let me reevaluate, right? Let me just say twist things around. So, but you also just have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to get to the state where you just got to keep moving forward. It's going to take longer. It's going to be challenging. And I think you have to focus on generating revenue, right? Like, because that's really what it's going to come down to, is how long, how much time do you have is really going to be related to your income and how much money you're making. And at the core of it, right, what are we doing? And sometimes a lot of us, I've done this, we focus on busy work. We focus on things, making our perfect plans, and we're not actually going out and driving in revenue. And all your activity needs to be focused on bringing in money, right? And maybe you still have to work for somebody for a period of time, right? Maybe you split your time. You need to do what works for you, but you got to focus on making money, and you got to have that goal. You got to know where you're going, right? And it's hard. I like VAs. For anybody who's, by themselves working at home, like VAs are awesome. Finding somebody somewhere on this planet to work for you is awesome. And they don't have to be down the street, right? We know that after COVID, right? Like, I mean, this is my third video call of the day. I'm just getting started.
Awesome stuff. So I want to jump into like people who say they don't know how to create. Like no one is great with everything. No one's good at everything. So how do you deal with the things that you're not great at and believe that you're stuck? Like some people are like, they'll have like the best ideas, or have, they're great coaches or what have you. They have a strong message, but they're stuck because they don't know how to do a landing page. They're stuck because they don't know how to do the technical stuff, or like they don't know anything about, running a camera or whatever. So tell us about the things that, they get stuck on that they can overcome in the beginning or going forward.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing for me, it's always is who, right? Like you got to change your hows to who's, right? And so if I'm trying to figure out how to do something, I figure out who can do it for me or who can I model, right? Who, and so like a landing page, you sit there and you go and you got like this blank page. Like, I got to create this website, right? Well, let's model success. Like we have to model success. That's, that's why I talked about getting out of the trenches and that hard time was I started modeling success. I started looking at other people. So, you start to look at what other people are doing. And and we're definitely not talking about copying, but you could be, if you're a creative, like let's say you're a creative who does, you talk about cameras, maybe you're a videographer, maybe you're somebody who does something with videos and you are good with cameras, but you're not good at like building something, right? Like how do you, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought where I was going with that. I got caught up in the cameras. But, so how do you do it? You start modeling success. You start looking for other people. I know what I was going to say. You don't have to find other people creating the same thing, right? And so when I say model success, it doesn't mean like I need to find other videographers, right? I don't need to find other people. I could find a doctor. I could find anything. You just start looking, right? As an artist, like if you go to art school, right? You're going to spend time going to a museum, right? You're going to spend time learning about people from the past. And so you look for that inspiration, right? And you just get inspired and then you take imperfect action, right? And you just got to go. Like for me, this is my cycle with everything. I'm dealing with it right now. Like my conversations with my VAs this morning was exactly this, is I dive into something and I don't exactly know how I'm going to get there. I know where I'm going and I know what I want to do. And so we just start doing everything, right? Like, okay, you're going to do this. We're doing this. We're doing this. And we take imperfect action and we get response back either from clients, from the world, like from whatever. You're getting this feedback. Us having this conversation, I'm going to, it's going to change the way I think and I talk and I'm going to refine something, right? And so we get to this point, but now it's messy, right? Because we've done all these different things and it's kind of sloppy and it's kind of messy. And now we say, okay, now let's take a moment. Let's see what's working, what's not working. Let's tighten it up. Let's do more of what is working and let's either do less or change what isn't working, right? And you look for, and you just improvement. I think the message is like, you got to go. You have to take action.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So with that, say if we're taking action, say if we're consistent, we're modeling people and we're trying to do the right things. There's not always, this whole thing's going to be a roller coaster, but we're consistent. How long does it take to get to this freedom place that you think of? What do you think as far as your experience with the average of where you're in a good place where this is sustainable?
I think freedom really is a mindset thing. It's your mindset, right? And so the whole point of living free is you're not putting financial or business success milestones to be free, right? Free is, and that's what I was saying, it's the core of believing in yourself. Like you have a plan, you're on the path. Let's do it, right? How long is a piece of string? Because you can say, oh, I'm going to do this. I've got a 5-year plan. And in 5 years, I'm going to be free. Or I can say I put a 5-year plan together and I'm going to start living free today because I know I'm going to get there. It's already there, right? So freedom is not based on how much money you have in the bank or how big your house is. Freedom is how you feel and how you live your life, right? And how and like the enjoyment and the love, right? Like all those good feelings, all the good feelings, when you think about what feels good, that's what freedom is, right? And the feelings that are bad and ugly and nasty, that's what we want to stay away from, right?
Yeah.
That's the grind. I don't want my life to be about a grind. I want my life to be about a lifestyle, right? And so then it's a muscle, right? It's something that you have to train and you have to flex and you have to condition and you have to just, you got to do reps, man, right? Like you got to work out and you got to constantly remind yourself that it's okay, right? And then the things that you do with your freedom, those will grow as your success grows, right? So in the beginning, maybe my vacation is really just going to the beach for 6 hours on the day and not doing anything. But 3 years down the line, maybe it's flying to some exotic beach on a private island somewhere and spending, 6 days, right? Those are awesome. It's all good, but it's only good if you can enjoy yourself along the way, right? Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. So this has been great, man. I really only have one question. I'm trying to sneak another question in there. Because this is just perfect. Um, I want to just give us a summary of this whole thing so that when like the biggest takeaways for the person that are listening or watching now and listening later about how to sum up this whole thing in maybe like a 1, 2, 3. If you can give us something like that, that'd be great.
Yeah. Well, I think there's two groups of threes here, right? Like
Okay.
there's the lesson that I learned from just recovering from the challenging business, right? Like when we bought this business, it was a print and marketing business, and it was a struggle, right? And to turn that around, it wasn't until I realized that I had to understand my market. So if somebody's starting out, right? If somebody's like getting into business or in their early stages and they're trying to figure out what's not working, is like understanding your market, understanding that it's not about you, right? Like everything that you do needs to be in service of other people for somebody else, right? So your opinion doesn't matter. And I mean that in the most respectable, kind way, but it should be about somebody else, because that somebody else, when we talk about then modeling, right? So we know your market and then we model success. Well, we can model people that are already successful. And we're not essentially always just going to model like what their landing page looks like. We can model how are they talking to their customers, to their clients, right? Because they've already figured it out, right? They've gone through the trial and error, and maybe they started from somewhere else and they figured it out and it's been fine-tuned, but they've already put the time and money in to get to that point. So let's model like how are they talking to the market? Who's the ideal customer, right? And then you got to move, right? You got to take imperfect action. You got to go, right? That's how I got out of that mess, right? And then when we get then to the next level, we're like, okay, well, I want to be free, right? Well, what's that foundation? The foundation is that business, it's that thing. It's the way that you create money, because we all need money, right? Like I get it. Unless we're lucky and we're born into something. Like majority of us out there need to generate money somehow. And so I prefer, like I said, let's generate money with our own business through creating our own thing. So now we can control our time, right? Our time is the most valuable thing we have, right?
Yeah.
We can get more money. We can't get more time, right? Like, so
Right.
how do we protect that, right? And then also having your own business, at least here in the States, right? We deal with taxes, right? Like, so how do you protect and keep the most amount of your money? We got to have your own business, right? The tax code is in favor of those who have businesses, right? Like you can pay less. And then, so you build your foundation, you're modeling success, right? That's the frameworks of other people. And then you put your hands up and enjoy the ride and just check in every 90 days, whatever works for you. I think it's important that don't be bound by somebody else's time frame. It's got to work for whatever works for you, right? And you got to put this together for your world. Don't compare yourself to somebody else.
Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Last question for you. Last question. And it goes something like this. We have people who are watching you now, they'll be listening to you later, and they want to know how they can be able to be an inspiration to people who want to create and live free as well. You built up this thing here and they want to know, how to do it themselves. How can they now become an authority in the space? And I'll put you front and center.
Yeah, well, I think, to become to create and live free, you got to find, right, what works for you inside. For me, this message resonates with me. This is something that I went through, that a lot of pain, right? Like a lot of pain and suffering that I went through and came out the other side. And I don't want people to experience that. I don't want people to have to go through what I went through. I came out the other side. I'm like, this should be common knowledge, right? I started the Create and Live Free Facebook group, right? The link's right there. It's just open, right? We just opened it like a week and a half ago, right? And my whole goal is just to put information in there to help people, right? So that you don't have to go through what I went through. And I think for somebody else, when they're thinking about what they want to do, is what are they passionate about? And they may have to try a few things, right? They may have to say, I like this, and they try it, because the market is going to help guide you. And it's not until you get out there, we've talked so much about taking imperfect action. You get out there and you start talking to people, you start selling your product or your service, and you start getting feedback and the response and the feedback. And then it starts to fine tune, right? And it all starts to come together. but you're not going to get to the core and the biggest meaning of who you are and what you do until you start getting out there, right? And it's what's best for you is the best thing, right?
I believe that's right. Awesome, man. That was fantastic. People, make sure you get a hold of this guy. Where can they find you after the show, Jeremy?
So yeah, so like right now, I mean, you can find me. Golden Octopillar is the name of my business, right? So like on Instagram and on the Facebook business page, it's the Golden Octopillar. But I think if they're really into this, I would go to the Create and Live Free Facebook group. Right in there, I'm interviewing other successful creative entrepreneurs and business owners on a regular basis, and I'm putting those interviews in there. I'm also doing lessons and different trainings to help people and putting it in there. Right? We can interact. They can ask questions. And the questions don't have to be about what I've posted. Just anything. It's a place for us to come together and support each other, so that we can all grow and get further faster. Right? And support each other. Right? Because we want to help each other with our struggles. Right? And celebrate our successes.
There it is. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. People, get a hold of this guy. Jeremy, you're amazing. I'm so glad that we got you on the show here. Got you squeezed in. So I have nothing else to say unless you have any final words. To be honest with you.
This has been fantastic. I'm so happy to be here and to be talking to you and to sharing this message with everybody. And thank you so much for working me in. And you and I had so many conversations going back and forth, and I'm just really honored to be here, and I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. The honor is mine. And people, make sure you get into that group, Create and Live Free. Get on there while the getting is good. This is the best time. It's just starting out. This is the best time to get your the best support, because later on, you don't have any time for you. Like, just kidding.
You're talking to a VA. You won't even talk.
Right, exactly.
No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Yes.
A little bit of truth.
Yes. So that's it for me for this episode. People, remember, as I always say, build it, share it, and they will come. And we'll see you next time. We're out.
And that's a wrap for this episode of The Authority Project. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, we want to hear from you. Subscribe, rate, and give an honest review. Share and tell your friends so they can hear too. And for even more authority building tactics, be sure to sign up at theauthorityletter.com. Get free weekly content and ongoing digital product giveaways to help you on your entrepreneurial journey. We certainly hope you got a key takeaway, or maybe an aha moment from today's broadcast. Just remember, it's your authority. Build it, share it, and they will come. Until next time.